Hi everyone, this is Safia. So I'm back um, on the story that was released a few days ago, Channel 4, about the two victims in the Seventh-day Adventist Church who were abused by the deceased Dr. Donald Kelly. Um, I've watched the response from the South England Conference. As you know, you'll see the video up there, my commentary, and the screenshots that prove that the Seventh-day Adventist Church, in particular, the conference, knew about Dr. Kelly's behavior over the decades. And I've shared, my thoughts on that. And, watching Pastor Dr. Kirk Thomas speaking on behalf of the conference, apologizing in his words, very sorry, deeply sorry. The question is, what should have the church done moving forward? Because this is not the first case, and unfortunately, I don't believe it will be the last. The abuse, the behavior of Dr. Donald Kelly has been covered up for years by the church. And it begs the question, what should a church do when there is an suspicion and there are victims coming forward saying that a particular authoritative figure in the church has been abusing, molesting children? What should the church do? Being as you're very sorry, what should the church have done, and what should be done moving forward? So I decided to put together some notes to make sure my thoughts are clear. I'm not going to, because if I don't have my notes in front of me, I have to ramble on, and just I don't want to drag out this video. So I've got my notes here, a few things that I believe the church should have done and should be doing moving forward when faced with allegations about a particular member, regardless of how high up in the church they are. So if you see me looking at the screen, it's because I've got my notes here. All right, then. Let's go. Number one. Upon learning of Dr. Kelly, the church should have immediately reported the allegations to law enforcement and child protection authorities. Yeah, the child protection authorities, we're talking about safeguarding. Their safeguarding obviously was not robust. Okay, that should have been reported to law enforcement immediately as soon as an allegation was raised way back in the 60s. This should have been raised. This should have been brought to child protection authority and the authorities, law enforcement, regardless of when the abuse occurred or the current age of the victim. So let's say, they claim that they just, was it 2023 or 2021 found out about this, which evidence shows they knew about it before. Then immediately this should have been brought to law enforcement and child protection authorities agency. How is it in February 2023? This is now after being urged by the victims to bring it forward that it's now under investigation by the church. There was a delay in this part. On learning of Dr. Kelly's behavior, Dr. Kelly should have been promptly removed from any positions of authority. Okay, and any contact with minors within the church should have immediately stopped during the investigation. Okay, if there's suspicion in a workplace, in a school, even when there's minors involved, if there is a suspicion that someone has their conduct has been immoral, sexually, sexually deviant in any way, even if that person is innocent, even if there's no evidence, their position, they should be suspended. They should go home until the investigation is done. Unfortunately, Donald Kelly was allowed to pursue his missionary endeavors at home and abroad. And that's another thing which I find quite disturbing and sickening, is that he went to certain places like Sierra Leone, Zimbabwe. He went as a missionary to places where young people, vulnerable, the young people, but these are young people who he obviously wanted to bring the gospel to them. And to many, this was the first time them hearing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And it will scar them for life. This will scar many young people for life when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to Jesus Christ. Imagine the first time you're hearing about the Lord, or the first time you're experiencing, Christian missionary is when they have molested you. God help the soul of Dr. Kelly and all his enablers who knew about this and did nothing about it. On hearing of Dr. Kelly's behavior, the church should have conducted a thorough internal investigation, separate from, but cooperative with any law enforcement investigation. That should have been done. There should have been thorough internal investigation. Okay. They should have commissioned an independent external investigation at that time immediately by qualified professionals as soon as possible after learning of the allegations. There should not have been a delay. As soon as the church learned about the behavior of Dr. Kelly, the victims and the families involved should have received immediately counseling for these victims. Okay? And moving forward, we're very sorry, the president says. Well, if you're very sorry, you need to be paying for some top therapy for these victims. Okay? There needs to be compensation, definitely, because of the negligence of the church to allow this to have happened for so long. But there definitely needs to be some kind of therapy in place. Look, don't take it for granted because they're in their 70s, these are mature men, that they're not going to need. No. Okay, we're not talking about therapy that you already have in your church. The church circle is too small. They don't need to be talking to someone who knows them. Okay, what needs to have taken place as soon as Dr. Kelly's behavior was discovered, as soon as the allegations were going around the church, as I heard it many years ago, there should have been and there should be counseling services in place for the victims. And I'm not just talking about the two victims that were on Channel 4, but the many others that have been failed to be acknowledged in the Dr. Kirk's address of apology. Just mentioned the two, but there are many others that were reported to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. There should have been an openness about this. As soon as it was learned of Dr. Kelly's behavior, there should have been an openness within the church community. Okay? I should have heard rumors. This should have been something that immediately was discussed. Like it should be this month. This month is November, Men's Mental Health Month. This is an opportune time for the church to really be open and vulnerable. We need to talk about these taboo subjects because of the taboo subjects, which is getting the church in trouble. Okay? Parents, teachers, authoritative figures, young people, we need to have an open discussion in the church community about the allegations and the steps being taken. The church needs to know. They don't need to be on hush hush and then eventually we'll tell the victims. The victims need to know first. The delay is crazy. But the church needs an open discussion. They have a right to know what is happening with this pedophile, this accused and found guilty, okay, pedophile. What are the steps going forward? What precautionary measures can we put in place to make sure this does not happen again? That was not put in place with the church. It's been allowed to go on for decades. The church should have reviewed, and it's not too late to do so, should have reviewed and strengthened child protection policies when they heard about the allegations of Dr. Kelly. Clearly they didn't, because this man was allowed to continue to be lauded by the church, to continue to travel around and share his ministry of health while he was destroying young people's emotional, mental, sexual, and spiritual. When I say child protection policies, I'm talking about all the different organizations where young people are taken care of, such as the youth department, the Sabbath school, Pathfinders, okay, family life ministries, pastoral ministries. These organizations, there should have been child protection policies reviewed and strengthened to make sure that this doesn't happen again. When allegations of pedophilia take place in the church, when victims come forward and say, this happened to me, the church should have, and still can, provide training to church leaders and members on recognizing and reporting suspected abuse. so that we can look out for our young people. Okay? Look out for one another. The church leaders and the members should have regular training in our youth programs, in our family life days, in whatever. We have special conferences, and as part of regular, health of the church, how to spot grooming, how to spot victims of abuse, so that we are supported. I say we, because I have been abused. I've been abused before I came to the church and also in the church. Not exactly in that way, but I've gone through my stuff and I won't need to go through it right now. So this is not about me. But I'm definitely passionate about this, because not only is one of the victims, Michael Smith, my cousin, he's my dad's sister's son, but it is very close to me. Okay. Being in the church, coming from an abusive background, the church don't know how to handle brokenness. The church does not know how to handle deviant behavior because of past trauma. Okay? The church does not know does not recognize when um when abuse is taking place, when there's a predator in the ranks. The church should have fully cooperated with any criminal investigations or legal proceedings. When the church learned about when the Metropolitan Police uh, informed the church of the allegations, the church should have immediately conducted the internal investigations and made sure that Dr. Kelly was brought to, that justice was given to the victims. Unfortunately, because of the delay, these victims now will never get to see Dr. Kelly brought to justice. They have to get some kind of closure for themselves, but the people who failed them the most should do their best, their utmost, to make sure that the truth comes out and that their failure in protecting these victims and many others is owned. There's no ownership right now. Finally, you're going to say, Safia, they've already done this one. Offer a sincere apology to the victims and take responsibility for any institutional failures that enabled or concealed the abuse. Now, I'm going to be careful how I say this, because you can't read someone's heart. I don't know Dr. Kirk. I can only hope he personally was sincerely sorry for hearing this, but representing the conference, I feel sorry, and you leave it as that. When you're sorry for doing something which caused damage, okay, you're clearly not owning it though. When you're sorry for doing something which caused damage to someone, you do all that you can to bring restitution. So you provide therapy, like I said. You'd own the fact that, you know what, we were biased on Dr. Kelly because one of us. It's all coming out now, and the statement immediately, as the conference knew that Channel 4 News was about to broadcast this, they came up real quick. I'm going to say this, I'm going to end on this note. I don't want to drag out this video. The statement from the SEC and the deeply sorry video by Dr. Kirk, in my estimation, has damage control. Protecting the I don't know what the delay is also about why you can't release the information through the investigation for the victims who need some kind of closure. You know the investigation is going to reveal some startling evidence that the church knew. So I can only guess that the church right now that the conference is discussing with their lawyers how to damage control, because y'all looking bad right now. Y'all looking real bad. Resting on our professor. And I hope moving forward that this video will you can take heed to this. These are the things that need to be done to protect our young people and our older people and our mothers and families, vulnerable people. Come to the church. We're all vulnerable. We come from broken backgrounds. We come from different needs. We come into the church. And it should be a safe haven, a hospital, okay, where we get healed, not a place that we get hurt and destroyed for life. Do better.